You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now. Winter wonderland turning fatal. Millions impacted with heavy snow and falling temperatures. Who's been left in the dark with more snow on the way?
Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes.
4 years after the election sparked an unprecedented Capitol riot, the president who contested that election's results gets certified to hold the high office once again. What lawmakers are saying on this landmark anniversary. And new year, new recalls. Why both you and your furry friends need to stay vigilant as popular items get pulled off of store shelves. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. Right now, the first major winter storm of 2025 impacting over 60 million people, shutting down roads and schools, toppling trees, power lines, and leaving at least 5 people dead. Heavy snow and ice accumulating in the mid-Atlantic region tonight. Kentucky is seeing some of the worst conditions. Hundreds of drivers there have been stranded. Governor Andy Beshear saying salt on the roads doesn't work as well when temperatures are this low.
And we're really racing against time because it is going to get really cold on Tuesday and Wednesday, especially, and Thursday. So we've got today and part of tomorrow to get power up to as many Kentuckians as we can.
And over 50,000 people across Kentucky still without power. Virginia, Indiana, West Virginia, and Illinois also have high totals. As for travel, thousands of flights have been delayed or canceled in the U.S. There have been more than 6,900 delays today and over 2,100 cancellations, according to FlightAware. As for snow, Kansas has gotten some of the most, 18 inches in some cities. The storm has broken records. Kansas City International Airport in Missouri got 11 inches of snow yesterday, breaking the 1962 record. Cincinnati got 8.4 inches of snow yesterday, breaking a daily record from 1977 with over 1,000 crews clearing roads in Ohio. The storm forecast to move off the East Coast tonight, but another winter storm is coming. It's expected to develop in the southern plains around Thursday and then head east through Saturday. The path of the storm is still uncertain, but we'll keep you updated just as soon as we learn more. And this just in, the patient in Louisiana with the first severe bird flu infection in the country has died, according to state officials. This is the first person in the U.S. to die from the disease. They were over 65 and had underlying health conditions. They made contact with wild birds and a backyard flock. The risk to the general public, we are told, is still low. Donald Trump has been certified by Congress to be the next president of the United States. On the 4-year anniversary of the attack on the Capitol, lawmakers gathered in the Capitol under extremely tight security measures to count the electoral votes. Our Matt Gelka joins us with the very latest.
Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes.
Vice President Kamala Harris presiding over the certification of President-elect Donald Trump's election win and her loss. The scene at the Capitol on January 6th in 2025, much different than the one 4 years ago. An angry mob stormed the Capitol after a speech from then-President Trump. 4 years later, President-elect Trump has promised pardons for his supporters that were involved in the riot.
I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual cases,
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
More than 1,500 people have been charged so far in connection with the Capitol attack, with almost 400 charged with felony assault on police or others. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has called for a blanket pardon. Other members aren't so sure.
That's ultimately going to be a decision that President Trump is going to have to make. And, what I'm focused on is the future and not looking in the rearview mirror.
The outgoing administration has preached a return to the peaceful transition of power.
As much as any other principle, it is what distinguishes our system of government from monarchy or tyranny.
President Joe Biden, in an op-ed about January 6th, also committed to restoring tradition while also learning from the past, writing in part, "An unrelenting effort has been underway to rewrite, even erase, the history of that day. We cannot allow the truth to be lost." Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer denounced the idea of pardons on the Senate floor ahead of the certification.
Pardoning the criminals who assaulted police officers and tried to halt the democratic process would be a dangerous endorsement of political violence.
Capitol Police Chief J. Thomas Manger also opposed the pardons, asking what message it would send to police around the country. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
And you're taking a live look over New Orleans, where right now President Biden is attending a prayer service, mourning with grieving families and communities still shocked by a brazen New Year's morning attack that killed 14 people as they enjoyed holiday festivities on Bourbon Street. Tonight, memorials and funeral services now take the place of the bloodshed as city officials now grapple with the pressure to protect visitors. Carnival festivities for Mardi Gras officially beginning today, and security personnel have pledged to review all security plans. Cities across the country are also on heightened alert as the FBI warns about the potential for copycat attacks. That includes Portland, Oregon, where the National News Desk's Victor Park asked locals about their top concerns.
Just days after the terror attack in New Orleans, some are on edge.
I told her as we were driving up here that, something could happen, and you just got to be prepared for it.
I think at this point, it's just one of those things where you don't know what can happen. You may or may not go home, and that's such a scary thing.
The FBI Portland office tells K2 the U.S. remains in a heightened threat environment and watchful for potential threats to public safety, and we will work with our partners to determine their credibility, share information, and take appropriate investigative action. ABC News has learned that the FBI and Department of Homeland Security sent out a joint intelligence bulletin warning the nation's law enforcement agencies about the potential for copycats who might try to mimic the attack in New Orleans. Police say the suspect was inspired by ISIS. Sources tell ABC News in recent months, ISIS has ramped up calls for mortar vehicle attacks and other low technology but deadly efficient ways of killing victims en masse. Police are given tips in the bulletin on what to look out for, including pre-operational surveillance and use of a fraudulent ID and credit to rent vehicles as potential signs of upcoming attacks.
I think it's definitely a big concern.
Most local law enforcement agencies K2 reached out to refused to comment, but Portland Timbers, who plays at the Providence Park and can hold more than 25,000 people, gave us a statement which reads in part, "We utilize a vehicle mitigation system that includes permanent bollards, road closures, and parking restrictions. There are no events scheduled at the stadium this month, and although concerns of a copycat attack are on some minds, most refuse to let that get in the way of their plans."
Gotta keep going and try to push through and just stay as safe as we can and try to just keep living.
And tonight, a judge has denied President-elect Donald Trump's request to postpone sentencing in his hush money case as he appeals. Sentencing is set for this Friday. Trump's team asked for the judge to delay it again and said that if he didn't, they planned to seek an emergency appellate review, a civil action that would freeze the sentencing. Trump is not expected to get jail time, but once sentenced, Trump would formally be a felon as he takes office. Trump was convicted in May on 34 counts of falsifying business records with a $130,000 payment made to an adult film star regarding an alleged affair. A search is on for the hit-and-run driver who killed an off-duty police officer in Detroit. Officer Cameron Richardson was driving home from work yesterday when a van collided with his Jeep Wrangler, causing it to roll over. The driver of the other vehicle fled the scene. A GoFundMe page has already raised more than $5,000 for Richardson's wife and his 2 daughters. Take a look at this new video out of Dallas, Oregon at the Center Market. Someone driving this pickup smashes into the front of the store, sending items flying. The driver gets out quickly, grabs items, then repeatedly tries to back out of the store. Someone was arrested for the incident, but the suspect's name and charges have not yet been revealed. There are 2 new head coaching vacancies available in the NFL. Today, Doug Peterson, formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is joining New England's Jared Mayo, who was fired just yesterday after the Patriots won their season finale on the unemployment line. Now, with these 2 new openings, there will be at least 5 new head coaches next season. The Jets, Bears, and Saints all made changes mid-season. And coming up, a major shakeup on the world stage. Why the Prime Minister of Canada says he's stepping down after 10 years. Then the popular over-the-counter medicine that's being recalled because of a potentially harmful ingredient. And later, we'll take you inside a sophisticated crime robbing people every day of their biggest investment. We'll be right back. Donald Trump's promise to drill, baby, drill has taken a huge hit days before he's set to return to the White House. President Joe Biden has followed through on his threat to permanently ban offshore drilling in federally owned lands, a move he says Trump can't undo with the stroke of his pen. Here's Kayla Gaskins with more.
In the 11th hour of his presidency, Joe Biden permanently banning offshore drilling on large sections of U.S. waters. The sweeping executive action covers 625 million acres along the east and west coasts of the U.S., the Gulf of Mexico, and the coast of Alaska. Critics, such as Amanda Eversole with the American Petroleum Institute, argue America needs access to these energy resources.
Putting permanent bans in place is short-sighted, not only for our national security, but for the benefit of American consumers and being able to access affordable energy.
Biden's move roadblocks one of the key campaign promises that helped to deliver Trump's return to the White House.
Drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill.
To pump up America's oil and gas production in an effort to lower the cost of living for Americans hit hard by high prices.
If you make donuts, if you make cars, whatever you make, energy is a big deal. And we're going to get that. It's my ambition to get your energy bill within 12 months down 50%.
Incoming Trump press secretary Caroline Leavitt calling the ban a disgraceful decision designed to exact political revenge on the American people who gave President Trump a mandate to increase drilling and lower gas prices. In a statement, President Biden defended the move, writing, "Drilling off these coasts could cause irreversible damage to places we hold dear and is unnecessary to meet our nation's energy needs." Biden does have support among some environmental groups. The Alaska Wilderness League writing on X, "Thank you, President Biden, for securing your conservation legacy and protecting our coasts." When Trump takes office on January 20th, he will need Congress to take action in order to overturn Biden's drilling ban.
This offshore drilling ban comes as winter storms hit much of the country, driving up demand for home heating oil and natural gas. In Alexandria, Virginia, I'm Kayla Gaskins for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Kayla, thank you. 2 steel companies are suing the U.S. government over President Biden's decision to stop their merger. Japanese company Nippon Steel had a deal to buy Pittsburgh-based U.S. Steel for nearly $15 billion. Biden blocked that deal over national security and supply chain concerns. The company's lawsuit claims the block was for political reasons and violates their due process. And a major shakeup in politics on the international stage. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced that he will resign after a decade holding that position.
This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
Trudeau has faced pressure for weeks due to unpopularity over many issues, including soaring housing and food costs in Canada. A new session of Parliament is now scheduled for March, allowing Canada's Liberal Party time to select a new leader for the next election. Full federal elections are expected by October of this year. A woman will lead a major Vatican office for the first time ever. Today, Pope Francis appointed an Italian nun, Sister Simona Brambilla, as prefect of the Department of Religious and Consecrated Life. Brambilla has been secretary of this important department for over a year. It oversees all of the Catholic Church's religious orders. Costco is pulling more of its cold and flu medicine from its shelves due to possible foreign material contamination. The boxes were purchased by customers between October 30th and November 30th and were all sold in locations in the Midwest and Southeast. It is the second time in less than a month the Kirkland Signature severe cold and flu medicine has been impacted. Meantime, Blue Ridge Beef is recalling its 2-pound log cat food due to salmonella contamination. The products were distributed between July 18th and July 26th of 2024. They were sold in retail stores in Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York. If you have it, throw it out or take it back to the store for a refund. Disney Hulu is now the second largest streaming paid TV provider, right behind YouTube TV, with 6.2 million subscribers. This after the company announced it is merging with sports streaming service Fubo. Disney will pay $220 million to own 70% of Fubo, while Fubo's management will be in charge of operations. They will also give Fubo a $145 million loan, and in return, Fubo will drop its current joint lawsuit against Disney, Fox Corporation, and Warner Brothers Discovery. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we begin in Tennessee with concerns about frozen pipes.
It's the busy season for Hiller Plumbing.
As soon as January starts, into December, January, we start fixing leaks for about a month-and-a-half period, it seems like, from frozen pipes.
And that's a problem you don't want to have. A pipe burst in your home causes a mess and a major bill.
Most of the time, if you have any sort of water line leak, you're looking at around $400 to $500 minimum.
So take precaution now. Technician Dakota Caldwell says to keep both the hot and cold water running overnight when the temperatures plummet.
Running the water is really your main line of defense.
Make sure any exposed pipes are insulated if they aren't already.
You can buy insulated covers at Home Depot, online, and Amazon. Look around your house, start taking the hoses off.
Outside, another big problem area, the forgotten hose. Make sure the hose is turned off and unscrewed and that the spigot is covered.
This was a terrifying moment when a door plug flew off a Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft, leaving those on board in shock. 1 year later, travelers remember hearing about the incident.
Oh, it was completely shocked, and my heart goes out for the people that had to endure that moment of uncertainty with what was going to happen on their flight.
All eyes were on Boeing as they faced intense scrutiny about safety and quality, but the company has maintained all along that its planes are safe to fly. Some travelers say they're still nervous and hesitant.
I heard they fixed the plane, so it made me feel a little bit safer, but I'm still a little bit nervous now that, something bad could happen.
Erica Castaneda is still adding up the losses following a New Year's Eve heist at her business, Inked Arch Tattoo in North Fresno.
Oh, I cried when I walked in. I support my 2-year-old son, and this is my livelihood.
She says it appears someone tried to break in through 2 window panels, damaging them, before finally making it inside and ransacking the place.
They stole what I thought was 6 tattoo machines, ended up turning out to be 10 tattoo machines, about 20 boxes of needle cartridges, I would say about 20 pigments, which are relatively expensive.
Coming up, Americans are losing billions of dollars to rising type of theft that's targeting home buyers. How it's done when we come back. Every year, roughly 5 million Americans buy a home, often sinking their life's savings into the purchase. Some of the most sophisticated buyers are among those being tricked by an organized crime that redirects money being wired right into the hands of criminals. Spotlight on America's Lisa Fletcher reports.
After months of grueling house hunting, Reagan Bartlow and her husband found their dream home.
You could see the finish line. All we had to do was wire the money and then go sign the papers, and then in a matter of minutes, it all came crashing down.
Days before the closing, she got an email that looked like every other email she'd received from her title company.
Saying, congratulations, we'll be ready to close on Wednesday, and all you have to do is go ahead and wire your funds. And that way all you have to do is come in and sign.
It made perfect sense. Reagan followed the wiring instructions, but on the day of closing, got a terrifying call from her realtor.
You haven't been talking to the title lawyer. And at that point, my whole world fell apart because I had already wired all of the down payment money for our house, and that was about $255,000. And so our nest egg, our savings, everything at that moment was gone.
It's happening, unfortunately, every single day, multiple times a day.
Tom Cronkright is the founder of Certified, a technology company that helps prevent wire fraud.
Your best case scenario is a consumer losing their down payment. Your worst case scenario is your cash buyer and their entire life savings is gone in a single wire transfer.
Have you seen that happen?
I see it happen almost daily, if not multiple times a day.
Cronkright started Certified after becoming a victim in 2015, losing $180,000.
And the reality of it is, these are some of the most sophisticated bad actors that have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into their own tradecraft.
Cronkright works with banks and title companies to prevent the crimes and with federal law enforcement to triage them. Global organized crime syndicates and cartels are often behind these billion-dollar operations. skillfully hacking into financial institutions, real estate companies, and law firms to get everything they need to impersonate a trusted advisor. So when somebody like Reagan gets an email to wire her down payment for closing, there's nothing suspicious about it.
The email that includes the payment request with wiring instructions isn't coming out of the blue. It's tacked on to a thread of emails that they've been having for 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Known losses are estimated at about $500 million a year, but Cronkright says that number may represent as little as 10%, placing actual losses closer to $5 billion annually. Losses most people never recover.
I would love to be able to be made whole in this situation. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I do know that if I tell this story, maybe I can help somebody else, because I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.
Lisa, thank you. Coming up, we'll take you to the biggest snowball fight of the season in the nation's capital. Stay with us. Some Chick-fil-A customers aren't too happy about a change to the restaurant's waffle fries. The chain said it modified the recipe ever so slightly, adding a pea starch. So far, the Chick-fil-A lovers, they're not having it, saying they no longer like the taste or texture of the fries. Well, Chick-fil-A says it is making the fries that way so they can stay crispier for longer. So this change, it may stick around.
It's just fun. It's a nice way to let off steam and just get together with other people in D.C. You just saw me nail that guy in the face, right? Happy snow day.
Happy snow day indeed. It only happens about once a year if you're lucky. The epic snowball fight in Washington, D.C. that marks the first snowfall of the new year. The group behind the fun has been snowballizing the masses on D.C. snow days for 15 years now. And today's Snowball Classic did not disappoint. One first-timer said she doesn't know why she hadn't done it sooner, because it was helping her rediscover her inner child. And we all need to do a little more of that. That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. Join us again this evening for more coverage of America's top stories. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching.